Welcome, everybody. We am delighted that you're joining us today for another of Natecla Scotland's YouTube channel interviews. It's great to have the lovely Cathy Glover with us today. Cathy currently works at City of Glasgow College. Thanks for joining us today, Cathy. So let's start at the beginning. I want to know a little bit more about you. Can you tell me about the job that you're in now and how you came to be in that job?
Okay, so at the moment, I'm the Curriculum Head for ESOL 1, so that's the lower level ESOL learners. And basically, I came back from working overseas for many, many years, and I had part-time jobs in lots of different colleges, worked for councils. It was very difficult to get a full-time job. And I was very fortunate that an opening came up at City of Glasgow where I had done some part-time work. And I was lucky enough to get the job. You know, very,
Excellent.
very tough, but
yeah. How many
and here I
years
am
have you
now.
been at City of Glasgow now?
I came. I'm just finishing my second year in July. It'll be 2 years in July. Yeah.
Excellent. Have you enjoyed your time there? Because it's the biggest college in Scotland, so it'll be a huge ESOL department.
Yeah, no, it's been fantastic. It's a lovely place to work, and you know, there's lots of opportunities there to get involved with, which is what I like. You know, I like the variety that it offers. And I was lucky really that the job was to be the ESOL 1 head. So we have 3 levels. So we have an ESOL 1, ESOL 2, ESOL 3.
Sure.
And ESOL 1 with the lower levels was something that I've been really interested in, looking at materials and teaching that level. I think people sometimes think that it's easy. I actually think that it's the lower levels and the high level are really challenging.
Yeah.
And it's that middle bit which is maybe a little bit easier for you. So
Yeah.
I quite like the challenge of those low levels.
Okay, so as a curriculum head, you teach, yes? So
Yeah.
Tell me what your average day is like.
Okay, so at the moment, obviously we're teaching on Zoom. So we do short Zoom tutorials. I do it with about half an hour Zoom with about 4 or 5 students. And we've prepared the videos that we use for them, and they watch the video, and then we go over that and allow them to ask questions in small groups. And I try and get them to talk to each other and to engage with each other as much as they can with the low levels.
Sure.
But I've found, for me, I mean, and everybody's a little bit different, but for me, the small groups as tutorials works just a little bit better because I have a chance to check that everybody's saying something and everybody's participating.
Lovely.
So yeah, and then of course there's quite a lot of correcting work, and there's a lot going on in the background. I think perhaps for ESOL 1 more than for the other levels, in actually just trying to get people to connect and WhatsApping and you know, if people don't join you for the Zoom, it's trying to work out why. So I think with us working sort of distance and online at the moment, I think the role of the teacher has been, there's quite a lot of sort of admin and a lot of pastoral work, you know, where we're worried about them, where have you been and what's the problem. So yeah, really varied and challenging, to be honest.
I mean, that sounds like you've had quite a lot of success then in this last lockdown year about getting very low learners online. Has that been a challenge? Is it taken a long time?
I think I've been lucky. I have a fantastic team, a really super team of ESOL 1 teachers who are dedicated and really have quite a lot of grit. I think they've understood, you know, they're willing to use any method almost that they can. So sort of the YouTube, texting them, emailing them, working with social workers who've been brilliant as well, and we have some young learners who have guardians. So it's basically reaching out to everybody and anybody. How can you help me to engage with this person? And then I think what we're understanding is a lot more about, some learners have had to deal with digital poverty at the very beginning.
Yeah, of course.
Some people just don't have great skill at using technology, so that's been difficult. But we developed a way of using these videos that are on the YouTube channel and on our website as well. And that was what I coined as the one-click approach. So what I was sort of saying is, rather than trying to get onto Moodle and trying to get onto lots of different channels, we can send them a link by WhatsApp, and it's just literally one click, and our lovely smiling faces pop up.
Yeah, well, it's true.
and it's engagement, and YouTube does have good analytics, and you can sort of see, where people have been engaging and how and what devices they're using. And it's still very popular. The mobile phone is the most popular.
Very much.
One.
So tell me a little bit about these videos and your YouTube channel.
Yeah, so the YouTube channel is basically something that started out of desperation. That my daughter helped me to do the beginning one. So I had my classes, we stopped in March, and I had to engage with them. And I just started making little videos for them. And one of the easiest ways to get it to them was to put it on YouTube.
Yeah.
So I was a bit nervous about this, my family have laughed, mother is a YouTuber. But it's worked. And obviously as we developed them, and as I saw they would comment and really appreciate things and send me the work that they'd done for the little activities, it seemed to be, as we moved into this academic year, that it was a really good resource.
Excellent.
And it was a resource that we could share. So the teachers do a video, but we share it so that we're not having to, and not everybody's not sitting in their corner producing materials, and that would be too onerous. And I think as well it helps to see what other people are doing, and for the learners they get to see different people in the YouTubes, and get to see other teachers. So it was that was the thing that was, it seemed to be successful with the students. And then of course I think the other thing is this sort of idea that for the teachers, you really begin to think about your lesson planning and everything, and you're learning new skills that I don't think will ever be not useful. They're never going to be defunct, really, anything that we can do with digital skills. And also getting teachers to work with other people, that you might not have had the chance to work with. And then the knock-on effect, I think, for the students that I've noticed, as I've become a little bit OTT with my YouTube analytics now, but you can actually see, I can see where the students are going, and the comments that they've made. So I'm actually beginning to understand that the students who I thought would have classed as literacies and would have said, these are the YouTube videos for you, they're actually dipping into lots of different things. And so it is like this, individualization of learning. They're seeing something, seeing a topic, seeing something they think will be useful, and they're just dipping in and picking up things as they go along. And I think that's really important, as we know, for these ESOL learners at the lower end. We tend to bag them all together.
Yep.
But actually, it's a bit like the old Woolworths pick and mix, more than a bag of mint humbugs. They're so different. Of
course.
And we need to address that, really. And I think this goes some small way into helping that for them. So yeah.
So do you have lecturers then from the other levels of ESOL contributing videos, or is it just your team in ESOL 1 that contribute?
Just the team in ESOL 1 at the moment, but obviously it's something that we're looking at. And I also work with Click to Learn, which is an LMS that we use. And I've found that it's a good way, because we can get the students to work with their electronic notebook that's in Click to Learn. So they can type up things. It's a stealth mode. They write it down in their notebooks, and then they transfer it into their electronic notebook. And also a voice recorder, so they're actually beginning to hear them speaking, and you can send messages with a voice recorder or typing. So I've known Click to Learn for a little while now, because City of Glasgow College was involved in some of their programmes, the Journey to Basics and the Journey to English. And I'm also working with them on a higher level OET English course that's online. So the higher level teachers get involved with some of those things, but not quite at the videos yet.
Okay.
But it's a good resource.
What I think a lot of people that will watch this will be interested in is give me some examples of how you could use those videos in a lesson, rather than just we watch it, we answer some questions.
Yeah. No, so it's great. I mean, I've always used sort of videos in lessons just as a good support. So, what I tend to do with the students, if they were in college, is sit them in pairs, do sort of like a sort of standard back to the board, but somebody's reading something, the other person's writing it down. What I like about the videos is it practices some study skills if you use it in the classroom. So you can see that they can peer correct, you can see that they can copy things. And you begin to, when you've got the video on and you're sort of saying, okay, I'm going to put 4 sentences, it's going to be there for 3 minutes and then it disappears. Copy as many as you can, as accurately as you can.
Yep.
As a teacher, you begin to be able to see where some are lacking in a little bit in the handwriting, where some are stronger. And obviously, because they're looking at the board, you're looking at them. And so there's a lot of class observation that can go on.
Great.
There's lots of things where you can say, if it's stronger students, where you can say, well, you turn your back and you're just listening. You're not looking at anything. So you answer the questions without the support of seeing the written word. The weaker ones can actually look at the board. So sort of for dictations or for finishing sentences off, that's a nice technique. And again, it's this idea that the whole class is doing the same thing, but it's differentiated because the support's there for some of the other students who need it, and the other ones can have their back to the board.
Excellent.
And I think as well, because we do a lot of questionnaires, so I'll have teachers who are speaking, so it might be very simple, what did you have for breakfast? I think when the students have seen that role modelled and they've answered the questions and they've looked at the questions, that's a great lead in for your own speaking activity. Sorry. So there's lots of ways, and I think something that we're thinking of doing really is how to use the videos and to look at some teacher training to sort of say, here's a new resource. Let's look at how we can share ideas, really, because it's something new. And that's something I'd be very happy to do if anybody in the communities or anywhere else were interested.
I think they would be, because I think everybody needs practical ideas for the classroom, don't they? So having the ability to have a resource, we all know what a video is like, we all know using YouTube, but how can we use that in a different way, different activities in class? I think people would probably find that really interesting. So I might hold you to that, Cathy. Maybe we could do something together with the Technical Scotland.
I'd be very happy. I mean, I always say to people, I did a lot of teacher training for when I was working at the British Council and overseas for ministries of education and everything, and people used to, when you're overseas, they think you're some great sort of teacher, and everything. And I used to go and think, you might learn 5 things today. I can guarantee I'll learn 10.
Yes.
So I think that's the point of that type of training. You pick up stuff from each other.
You do.
And I think ESOL practitioners are very open-hearted and willing to share.
They are.
And when you have that, then it's the right ground for learning new skills. New skills.
You finished that conversation in a brilliant way with the new skills part. Tell me, were you an experienced video maker when you started making the videos on YouTube? And then did you find it easy? Do you have top tips for anyone that might be thinking about doing the same?
No, I'd never, my kids would always laugh. I mean, sort of probably 5 or 6 years ago, I would have screamed and panicked and had a breakdown if anybody changed the icons on my laptop. What happened? And that was one way my daughter would really wind me up. Let's go in and change mum's icons.
Okay, that's funny.
So no, but I think when you want to teach your, it was desperation in a way, when you want to teach your learners. And as I say, I dabbled a little bit because I'd made up these stories for my ESOL 1 class so that they could join a reading challenge. And so little by little, you learn by your errors. And I think, again, we have, I have lovely teachers that I work with, but we also have students, I think, who tend to be very, very appreciative and understanding.
Yeah.
So it's very much a trial and error. And if you look at the videos, I think you can kind of see the ones at the beginning, as you say, where you've got, I don't know, I've had some where you kind of think, why did I wear that? and sort of, like odd things in the background. And, sort of, I had my dog that used to try and get in on the act. And so I think you do. And then you just sort of learn to be well planned, but not to script it. That's one thing I've learned. I look at the video, I try and imagine that the class is there, and it's how I would be with the class. So if I make a mistake, I go, oh, sorry, I don't mean that.
Yeah.
Because that's a very real, it's very real to the students. I think if it becomes too clean and too clipped, they don't engage, because the one thing I think that our students miss is actually having contact with a student, with a teacher, when they're online.
Of course.
And so just seeing a face and seeing somebody smile and laugh, I think it brightens their day, and it's a bridge. For me, it's a bridge between totally online and just working with your computer. and obviously the luxury of being face to face. But
Yep.
it is that sort of bridge there, and for students, I think they appreciate that.
Yeah, I bet they do. I bet
Um,
they do. Do you have any top tips you might give somebody who would fancy venturing into something
yeah,
similar for their own students?
I think it's about having very clear learning outcomes and not too many. So what
Sure.
do you want to achieve? And then I think it's about your I use PowerPoint. So it's about the PowerPoint not being too fussy, not being too cluttered, because obviously we know what we're doing. It's a bit like your whiteboard, isn't it? It shouldn't be a sort of mind map for
Yeah.
everybody who's got to try and think what was Cathy thinking? Why
Yeah.
is that over there? So I think it's about it being clear and to try and pick at some ways that suits your style of teaching. So for me, I like to introduce the vocabulary because that's often key to the context. So I have a vocabulary at the beginning, a little bit of in context and reading, listening, and then a couple of very simple activities. And what I think the students have appreciated is when you do an activity, give them the answers straight away. They can always go back and
Yeah.
don't worry about them cheating. If they don't do the activity and they see the answers, they can go back and do it
Of
when they
course.
know what they're doing.
Yes.
And then, I'm a bit of a chatterbox, as you can see, but I think, I try to make the instructions as clear as I can. If anybody's seen them, I'll be going, write it in your notebook.
Of course.
And as I say, don't worry about it being too highbrow.
Uh-huh.
I think, make it simple and easy and enjoyable. And then you'll find that the students actually really, with these videos, it's so much more than just the activity.
Yep.
They're listening because they're
Yep.
listening to you the whole time. They're having to read things on the screen. Then they've got a bit of writing. It's really a very holistic approach.
It's
And then we
great.
ask them to say, if you can do a comment, I always answer back to the comments,
Oh, good. No. Well,
Um,
that's a lovely bit of interaction, isn't it? And connecting a bit more with you, especially this year when we are quite distant from our students.
yeah,
So, I
it
mean,
was funny.
I'm biased. I've obviously seen some of your videos.
Yeah,
I think they're absolutely brilliant. I
yeah,
love that they're relatable, though, and that I think for me, that I could see myself doing that. That's
yeah,
manageable. I can see the point of them. I think there's endless possibilities. You can use them as a teaching
yeah.
resource.
Well, it was funny because I was in the college the other day, and this student sort of came and said, "It's Cathy," and I thought, "Oh, fame," and they goes, "How's Rona and Joyce?" And they're two teachers who I work
Oh,
with.
that's
Not interested
brilliant.
in you, but where's Rona and Joyce?
Oh, that's
And
great.
it was just a nice, I think it's a way of them really connecting with their teacher, which I think is hard because obviously, particularly as well at the lower level, it's nice to feel that you've got a friend,
Yeah,
and you've
absolutely.
got contact, and we want them to come back into college, but it's a sort of, it's a second best, I
Yeah,
suppose.
absolutely. So just to finish off then, Cathy, do you have any plans for the future in relation to your fantastic videos?
Yes, well, we're looking at the moment. I'm just working on some that are going to spread out a little bit into sort of the workplace and thinking of employability a little bit. Um, I've just finished with my ESOL 1 teachers. We're just sort of looking at how to do an assessment, so we can do assessments by video, and helping us to actually manage to try and decide where the students are, because this
Uh-huh.
year has disrupted a little bit our ability to know what everybody's doing in the classroom. It's so much easier
Of
because when the
course.
students are there. So yeah, just making them a little bit, a little bit more content and trying to make it sort of cohesive. The dream, the dream would be to sort of have the grammar areas, something for each topic going from A0, A1, A2. Then there's the part that's very much to help people with their reading,
Yeah.
and that's very much, you can tell I was brought up on Janet and John and the Ladybird books because it's nothing new.
Yeah.
And then obviously I'm doing one with working with words, which is just a very quick, here's the vocabulary, learn it. So
Excellent.
yeah, but gosh, if there's anybody out there that wants to come on a video with me, I'm always welcome to.
We'll get advertising for you. We'll drum
Yeah,
up some faces for you, Cathy. No
yeah. So
problem.
yeah, it's a lovely, and as I say, I'm very happy to explain or to work with anybody who wants any
Oh,
help.
That's great to know.
It's
I
a
mean, I have
result
to say,
there.
yeah, I have to say from my point of view, I think what you're doing is absolutely commendable. I love that something that I can see is so valuable has come out of, as you've described it, desperation. The fact that that it was what you serviced a need. There was a need there when we went into this lockdown, and you managed to turn it around and do something for your learners. I think your motivation is to be commended. It's fantastic.
Oh, well, I enjoy the job, and I think it's partly because the learners gave such, they were so happy, and sort of that's what we want to do, isn't it?
Yeah, no, absolutely. But Cathy, thank you so much for sharing your time with us today and hearing about the work that you do. It's fantastic. And for anyone watching this, I will obviously have shared the link in the information. So please head straight over to Cathy's YouTube channel and have a look. They're fantastic. Cathy, we hope to see you again at the Techla Scotland event. Thanks again for your time.
You're welcome. Bye.